ladies, gentlemen, and fist mains of all ages, it's time to get punching, kicking, and tenderizing some monsters like the pieces of meat you'll inevitably turn them into. Today we're going to do something fun, and something that isn't quite meta, unless you are of course counting the assisted combo Akuma moveset as the 15th weapon in the game, in which case technically it is meta for that weapon, because today we are going to make a fully maximized and optimized build with which to use the Akuma item moveset. The attacks accessed through this item scale their damage based on your attack stat, and they are affected by nearly every skill the way that they normally work with weapons as well. They can crit, they can be affected by crit boost, they can trigger burst, all of the stuff like that, but there are a couple more special unique things that can work with it in fun ways. And beyond that, because sharpness doesn't matter and the weapon type can be any of the 14, there's some pretty uniqueness to putting this together as a build in the perfect way. Starting out then with the weapon itself, you are going to want a hunting horn, because in an otherwise equal scenario, a hunting horn that has the same amount of raw as another weapon, but also has access to attack up large as a melody, means it has a higher potential attack stat overall if we count that in. That means that for the sake of Akuma maxing, where any weapon type can be on your back, hunting horn is the best option. And if you don't want to think about swapping your weapons around mid-hunt, then the singular horn that you would want is the Guardian Arkveld hunting horn. This has 230 raw attack, which is great, negative 10% affinity, which is manageable, and the sharpness doesn't matter for Akuma weapon hits. This also has dragon element, and while element is not a big deal for us, we're not focusing around it, it does still add a little bit of extra damage to every hit nonetheless. This hunting horn has the attack and defense up large melodies, and it also comes naturally with Horn Maestro to extend the duration of melodies too. Normally, hunting horn as a backup when using a different weapon is awkward, because swapping off of a hunting horn decreases the duration of your active melody buffs, and they did this to stop people from just running hunting horn as a purely buff mule that sits on your seikret otherwise. But this buff duration decrease doesn't happen when you sheathe your weapon, and as the Akuma moveset can simply be used while sheathed instead of being a full extra weapon, you still get full duration hunting horn melody buffs if you have it on your back. You can even then take this a full step further, because the other caveat to that hunting horn mechanic is that buff duration is only decreased when swapping to a different weapon type, as in not another hunting horn, because it is not decreased at all if you swap from one hunting horn to another hunting horn. As a result, if you are willing to do a little bit of weapon swapping shenanigans every few minutes, every 4 minutes when buffs need reapplying, the technically most optimized option is to have the Guardian Arkveld hunting horn to apply the buffs to begin with, and then after getting attack up large melody active, swap over to the Guardian Dashagama hunting horn, which has higher attack value, up at 250 and only 5% worse affinity at a cost. So you definitely want Guardian Arkveld horn no matter what, and then if you are willing to go the extra mile, you want Guardian Dashagama horn to swap over to as your main sort of back-sitting stat stick. Moving on to the armor then, well, it's the Akuma armor to put it simply, the full set. The set bonus on this, or the group bonus I guess technically, increases the actual amount of damage done by the Akuma moveset by 30%, which is such a large gap that no other configuration of armor and skills could overtake that alone if your plan is to not use an actual weapon and only use the fists, which is what today's build is all about. As well, it also gives you an offset effect on the drive impact, which is a very big deal for this, and it also adds stun value to your hits so that you can get stuns on monsters. As for the talisman that we'll be using here, I messed around with a bunch of different options, but the one that I found did the best after a lot of math, honestly, is Latent Power Charm. If we count Latent Power at having 60% uptime, which is pretty reasonable, then that would be an 18% affinity increase from your talisman. Or even if you count that as low as 50% uptime, it is still 15% affinity on average from your talisman, which is just generally more value than 2 weakness exploit, which is 10% affinity, or 2 agitator, which is 5% affinity and then some attack as well, which would be the main competitive options with it. So Latent Power Charm is what I've gone with. That said, if you are someone who prefers comfort over pure damage, you could consider the Evade Extender Talisman instead, as Evade Extender 3 is sort of silly with Akuma's unique dodge animation after one of his hits, and you can get all 3 ranks of that skill from the charm. But the pure damage best option is Latent Power. Following that, we have our decorations in the build as well, starting with the actual weapons themselves. Because of the specific slot space in the weapons that we use and stuff like that, attack boost overtakes critical boost for value in the weapon slots. and so we go for attack boost 3 and attack boost 1 in the 1 slot as well. In the remaining 3 slot, you have a bit of a choice to make. Focus increases the recharge speed of the drive impact gauge. Getting a successful offset with drive impact increases your damage by 5% for 30 seconds afterwards. The drive impact gauge itself has a 30-second cooldown naturally. If you slot in focus, this means that you will have around 4 seconds or so where the buff is still up, but the cooldown is finished. This means that you can keep the buff up perpetually as a result if you do this because of the overlap, and even outside of the 5% damage buff, that means more frequent access to your high damage wound pop, and of course the offset for the sake of getting an offset. Not even just the damage buff, but offsets are good. A fun bonus note is that you can get 1 rank of Slugger as a combo for Focus 3 in a decoration, which gives us 20% bonus stun value on our hits as well, which is something that we apply, so this is quite nice. If, however, you value literal raw attack more than you do stuff like that, then you would want to go with airborne/attack within this 3 slot. Airborne boosts the damage of aerial attacks by 10%, and interestingly, this applies to both the spinning kick at the end of the circle or B combo, and also to the Shoryuken attack, which is actually decent when weaved into the combos. These are 2 of your largest individual hits, and so boosting them by 10% is pretty solid in general. But the fact that this is also a combo decoration with our 5th rank of attack boost means that it also gets you an extra 2% attack for all of your attacks, as well as a bonus just for a setup of decorations that we've got here. If you are running the Guardian de Shagama Horn with the weapon swapping playstyle, you would want to have 3 attack boost within the 3 slot, 1 attack boost within the 1 slot, and then within the 2 slot you could have either Airborne once again for that 10% boost to 2 parts of our moveset, or Focus 2 for 10% faster drive gauge cooldown instead of 15%. In the math, I will be doing the latter. I'll be counting it as focus, as that is what I view to be the superior version of this build in practice, even if the actual effective raw stat is a lower attack number in itself. Next up then we have the armor decorations, which are a little bit simpler. We have 3 maximum might decorations for getting 3 ranks of maximum might, which is just 30% affinity when at maximum stamina. Playing the Akuma playstyle is really easy to manage your stamina with, and so that's just 30% affinity practically for free. We get 1 chain jewel for that first rank of the burst skill, because the first rank is the most valuable one. We can consistently just have the 5 raw attack from the first hit bonus, and we can even get the 8 raw bonus as well pretty consistently after you get 5 hits within a combo, which you can do quite often with larger openings. Then we have 1 counter attack jewel as well for that first rank of Adrenaline Rush, which is the most valuable one of that skill, and this is pretty easy to keep up for Akuma, as the recovery frames on most of his attacks are super short, so it's easy to purposefully time your dodges, and the iframes on the Akuma specific dodge are quite generous. So Adrenaline Rush as a skill is a pretty easy inclusion if you just make a point of actively trying to iframe dodge an attack once every 30 seconds or so. Then we have 3 counter jewels for 3 ranks of the counter strike skill. This is very valuable in general because most people will get hit on occasion, and when you do, you will activate the skill, but also because the Akuma moveset has an offset, you can trigger Counter-Strike by doing the offset, because that's just a way the mechanics interact within the game. This means that it can happen even if you are playing the Akuma moveset perfectly. And importantly, you can also trigger Counter-Strike by being hit by an attack while you are wearing Rocksteady Mantle, which I actually do quite like using with the Akuma moveset. Corrupted Mantle is a damage boost, of course, but Rocksteady not only lets you just get out full combos while a monster is actively attacking you, but it just feels like thematically correct to ignore the pain while punching the hell out of them. That said, if you are feeling a little bit spicy, you could replace 2 of these Counter-Strike jewels instead with Heroics as an option, because the Akuma armor set already has 3 Heroics built into it, so this would bring you up to 5 Heroics. That would give you a massive attack boost when you go under 35% of your maximum health, which again feels quite thematically correct here. But I just assume that most players don't want to play at 35% health or less all the time, so I'm mentioning the option of that, but that isn't what I'm presenting here as a build. Then we have some 1 slots left over because of the way that the set works, and within these I recommend 3 protection jewels for the Divine Blessing skill at maximum ranks. This is quite possibly the highest amount of defensive value that you can get from a skill, especially one that costs 1 slot decorations to actually put in. But also, as mentioned, this armor set even has 3 heroics by default, so if you go to 35% 50% health or under, you will get a damage boost, even if we don't lean into it. And Divine Blessing just makes surviving when being hit with heroics active even easier to do. So that's a nice bonus synergy right there. Then for our final two little one slots, I recommend Medicine Jewels specifically for the increase in healing, especially because you can eat for the medic meal food skill for the equivalent third rank of the skill, which increases all healing that you do and get. Or if you're playing in multiplayer, I highly recommend swapping one of these out for the Shockproof Jewel to keep you from flinching teammates or being flinched by teammates, because it's just super easy to get flinched by other people while they're using actual weapons and you're using Akuma attacks. That said, the final skill list, depending on the choices that you've made there, should look something like 4 attack boost, 3 focus, 2 horn maestro, 1 slugger, 3 latent power, 3 heroics, 3 counterstrike, 3 maximum might, 3 divine blessing, 3 part breaker as a bonus from the base armor set that just makes us do more part break damage, 2 evade window as well, which is just an extra bonus, 2 recovery up, 1 adrenaline rush, 1 burst, and then the group skill for the set that gives us extra Akuma damage and gives us the offset attack and stun value as well. As for the math of it all then, for those who are interested in the effective raw, starting with the Guardian Arkveld Horn version of this, 230 raw attack as a base with 10% negative affinity. We gain 2% of our attack from Attack Boost 4, which applies under the flat bonuses, so it only applies to your base weapon attack. Then we gain 8 raw attack from Attack Boost 4 as well. We gain, let's say, 20 attack from Counter-Strike because we're going to count it at 80% uptime, which is a very reasonable expectation for a playstyle with an offset involved, and because we're talking about using Rocksteady Mantle too. Then we will count a full plus 10 from Adrenaline Rush, as it's quite easy to keep that active on Akuma's moveset. And we'll count Burst as being plus 5 raw attack, which should be active pretty consistently, but be aware that any time that a combo goes past 5 hits, you'll have even more than that. But that puts us at a collected attack of 277.6. For affinity, we have negative 10% on the weapon. We get 30% from maximum might. Then if we count latent power as 50% uptime, which is a fair, if not even conservative assumption, we would get 15% affinity on average, which gives us a total of 35% average affinity. With no critical boost, a crit is 25% more potent than a regular attack, so a 35% chance of a 25% damage boost is an overall damage average increase of 8.75%. We increase 277.6 by 8.75%, and we get 301.9. Add in another 10% from the attack up large bonus from the hunting horn, and you get 332 effective raw, which when considering we have no sharpness bonus is pretty dang effective. Just for the sake of showing how much of a difference it makes if you weapon swap to the Guardian Deshagama horn after playing up the attack up large melody, however, here is the same set of math with the weapon on it. Nothing else changes, except we're now putting in the base weapon stats of the other weapon. 250 base attack and negative 15% affinity. 298 raw attack from the collected attack bonuses, with the crit bonus on average working out to be a 7.5% damage increase. This put together is 320.4, then another 10% from the attack up large melody puts us up to 352.4 effective raw. So it's about a 6% damage increase to do this weapon swapping shenanigans over just using the Guardian Arkveld hunting horn, and whether or not that is worth it for you is entirely your choice. Finally then, just to quickly go over the playstyle for this, you want to open up by playing the Attack Up Large song, which you can even do on your seikret as you approach the monster. This will then last for 4 minutes afterwards within our setup, so you don't need to take out your hunting horn at all for the next 4 minutes after that. You generally want to get your kick combo out as much as possible from the Akuma moveset, but with the longest combo string possible to get there. The kick combo finisher is the strongest of the 3 combo finishers, but the more hits you can fit in before getting there, the better overall you will do. The exact combo that you do will depend on the opening that you have, but your goal is to sort of float from the punch combo to the viscera piercer combo over to the kick combo as a finisher at the end. Then you can use Go Shoryuken, the emote at the end of a combo, to do some extra damage and get an aerial jump as a part of it to avoid attacks with a low hitbox. And this attack also applies very high stun value. Outside of that, you want to use Drive Impact pretty much on cooldown to get an offset if possible, unless there is a tempered wound available to pop, in which case you should pop that for the free knockdown, which is generally worth more than a 5% damage increase for 30 seconds. Also, generally, you want to focus on hitting the head of a monster while using this playstyle, as it applies a fairly decent amount of stun buildup as well, which gets you knockdowns, which means more damage. That just about does it for today then, everyone. A full guide to our Akuma fist weapon build, an optimized way of using the new sort of pseudo 15th weapon in Monster Hunter Wilds, which I have been having a blast with so far. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and hopefully you enjoy using this setup for yourself too if you try it out on your own. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.